Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So look, if you've been following the Red Hulk situation lately, you already know things have been hella intense. We're talking Doom pulling strings behind the scenes, secret experiments that will make your skin crawl, and Thunderbolt Ross getting pushed to his absolute limit. And not gonna lie, the story hits different when you realize how deep Doom's network actually goes. Alright, so let's set the stage. We're opening up in Virginia, inside this facility called Project Alpha, and right off the bat, the vibes are sketchy as hell. Thunderbolt Ross, one of the most hardened military minds in the Marvel Universe, strapped to some kind of experimental machine that's basically tearing him apart from the inside out. The room's humming with this oppressive energy, and you can feel the tension crackling in the air like electricity before a storm. Now circling around Ross, like he's some kind of apex predator, is Captain Simon Riker. And Riker's not just plain villain here. This man is legit sadistic. He's looking at Ross with these gleaming eyes, and he says, "You're a tough piece of meat, Ross. I'll give you that. Most people would have passed out from the pain by now. Or died." This ain't some quick interrogation. This is systemic torture designed to break down one of the toughest soldiers alive. But Ross, this man doesn't break. He grits his teeth through the agony and just growls back, "Fuck you, Riker." But Riker is not done. He leans in closer, practically salivating at the thought of continuing, and asks, "How about we go another hour? You up for that?" Ross screams as the machine surges with more power, his body convulsing from the strain. But then, plot twist, an alarm starts blaring through the whole facility. Riker freezes, his whole demeanor changes. He mutters, "That's the alarm to my office." Without even finishing what he started with Ross, Riker just bolts. He's running down the corridor, and Ross is left there still strapped to the machine, literally screaming after him, "Riker, forget the alarm. I'm ready for more. Get back here." And I gotta say, the fact that Ross is taunting his torturer to come back and keep going, that's some unhinged patriotic energy right there. This man would rather endure more pain than let Riker think he broke him. Respect. So Riker's sprinting through the facility, and here's where things get wild. As he's running, his body starts to shift, bones cracking, muscles warping, the whole transformation sequence. Riker's transforms into Warwolf, mid-stride, claws extending, and tears through the door to his hidden chamber, like it's made of paper. Inside this secret room, there is this mirror glowing with eerie supernatural energy. And standing there, already waiting in the reflection, Dr. Doom. Doom doesn't waste time with pleasantries. His voice is cold, calculated, dripping with disappointment. He says, "We have a problem, and you need to fix it. That you would be so clumsy as to allow such a distraction. It's gravely disappointing." Riker just snarls but doesn't say anything. What do you even say to Doom when he's calling you out? Then Doom drops the real bomb. "The woman, Tamika Bowden, she knows about us. You've been compromised. If she shares this with the military or the press, our collaboration ends and your life will be forfeit." Let that sink in for a second. Doom's running a whole shadow operation inside a US military facility, using Riker as his puppet, conducting experiments on Thunderbolt Ross to study the Red Hulk transformation. And now the whole thing's about to blow up because someone found out. This is some serious House of Cards type conspiracy, except instead of politicians, we got literal monsters and dictators. The stakes just went from rescue mission to prevent international incident, real quick. Back in the lab, where Ross is still strapped down, something crazy happens. His body starts changing on its own, skin reddening, muscles swelling, veins bulging like they're about to burst. The machine's dialed to maximum, pushing his transformation triggers to the limit. A metal arm straight up smashes through the control panel, leaving it sparking and smoking. And through that smoke steps First Sergeant Tamika Bowden, looking fierce and absolutely done with this whole situation. She looks at Ross and says, "Your old ass was right. Riker's in bed with Doom. It's one thing to follow orders, it's another to secretly work with a dictator and build weapons that serve him." Can we talk about how clutch this moment is? Because Bowden just risked her entire military career, probably her life, to do the right thing. She saw corruption at the highest level and said, "Nah, I'm not down with this." She moves to Ross's side and delivers one of the coldest lines in the whole story. "I've got your six, General. You know me as First Sergeant Bowden. Others know me as Wild Strike, and I'm here to enlist in your battalion, if you'll have me." Ross looks up at her, half transformed, eyes burning with the trademark intensity, and says, "Wild Strike, I salute you. Now let's get the hell out of here." And just like that, we got ourselves a team. As they're preparing to escape, Ross has this internal monologue that's low-key one of the most human moments in the whole story. He's thinking about getting older, about how the body breaks down over time. Pills, glasses, surgeries, all the duct tape it takes to hold yourself together as the years pile up. But here's the thing that makes it hit different. Ross says it's easy to forget his age because he's carrying a weapon of mass destruction inside him. The Red Hulk makes him feel invincible. But these experiments Riker's been running, they've taken a toll on his human body in ways the Hulk power can't just fix. He realizes he's gonna need help fighting his way out. He hasn't seen Deathlock or Machine Man since they got captured in Latveria together. Either they're dead, or they're doing everything they can to find him. Right now, Wild Strike is the only thing holding him together. But without being able to transform into Red Hulk safely, he doesn't know if they're gonna make it out alive. That vulnerability, that's what makes this story work. Ross isn't just some unstoppable force. He's a man dealing with the consequences of being experimented on, of being weaponized, of pushing his body beyond what it was meant to handle. Meanwhile, and this is happening at the same time, we cut to Deathlock in what might be the most intense scene in this whole operation. He's underwater in this massive tank, swimming toward the thick glass wall and pounding against it with desperate force. Cracks start spider webbing across the surface, but the barrier holds. Then behind him, this Sharkman creature glides silently through the water and lunges. Deathlock twists to fight, but another Sharkman closes in. He's surrounded, running out of air, running out of time. But then Machine Man intercepts, driving his fists into one of the Sharkman's faces with brutal efficiency. Without hesitation, Machine Man extends his arms, like steel cables, which is hella cool visually, and punches straight through the chest of the first attacker. The creature drifts lifelessly into the depths. Machine Man turns to Deathlock, and in the most Machine Man way possible, delivers this perfectly clinical observation. The average person can hold their breath for 30 to 90 seconds. The longest record is 24 minutes and 37.36 seconds. But I believe you've reached your limit, Deathlock. 11 minutes and 22.4 seconds. And then Deathlock's body just goes limp. He starts sinking toward the bottom of the tank. Elsewhere in the facility, Ross and Bowden are trying to make their escape when they hear it. The distant howl of Warwolf echoing through the corridors. Ross stiffens and just says, "Oh f***." The growl gets closer. Bowden's supporting Ross as they move because his steps are faltering. She asks, "I don't suppose the big red guy could give us a hand?" And Ross clutches his chest and says, "My heart." Bowden's voice sharpens with concern. "General Ross." Then Ross just collapses. "General Ross," she cries, dropping to her knees beside him. "I need you to stay with me, General Ross. Please." Behind them, Warwolf rounds the corner, snarling, closing in fast. He leaps to strike, and this would be it. This would be game over. But before he can reach them, the glass tank from earlier explodes outward in this massive eruption of water and debris. Machine Man, still submerged, has shattered the wall with his extendable arms, and the imagery here is insane. A tidal wave of water floods the corridor, sweeping Werewolf, Ross, and Bowden off their feet. Everyone gets separated. Sharkman, Machine Man, Deathlock, Ross, Bowden, Werewolf, all carried down the hall in this violent current. It's chaos. Bowden's coughing up water, gasping for air, and she turns to Machine Man, who's standing there, soaked and battle ready. She asks, "Who the hell are you two?" Machine Man answers with the most simple, perfect response: "Allies." Outside the facility, they see a military helicopter and a few soldiers. One of the soldiers spots Bowden. "Hey, First Sergeant Bowden, what's going on here?" Bowden rises to her feet as the soldier closes in. She says, "I can explain later," and then just punches the nearest soldier across the face, drawing blood. Machine Man and Deathlock dispatch the other two with swift, calculated strikes. Bowden crouches beside Ross, trying to lift him, and warns them, "There are 30 soldiers assigned here for security. Unless we want a firefight, we need to move. Now." They get Ross into the helicopter, and as they're lifting off, Deathlock slumped in his seat looking defeated. He says, "Feeling a little worthless right now, Machine Man. You carried me through that whole damn operation." But Machine Man doesn't hesitate with his response. He says, "In Latveria, my power cell depleted. You dragged me for miles through hostile territory. At the DOD waste facility, you pulled me out of an incinerator. You helped me. I helped you. That's what friends do. They carry each other when they need it." Not gonna lie, that hit me in the feels, because that's what this whole story is about underneath all the action and conspiracy. It's about soldiers looking out for each other, about carrying your friends when they can't carry themselves. It's about found family in the middle of a war zone. But anyway, let's continue on. The helicopter's in the air now, bullets pinging off the hull from the soldiers below. Inside, Bowden's riffling through the medical kit with trembling hands, muttering, come on, where are you?" Then, Deathlock's internal computer chimes in with the worst possible news. "I have not sensed a heartbeat in General Ross for 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Deathlock clenches his jaw and tells his computer, "I only want to hear good news, Pewter. What did they do to Ross?" Bowden doesn't look up. She's focused, explaining, "Mad scientist stuff. Isolated triggers for Red Hulk. They targeted individual organs and body parts. It was too much strain on his human anatomy. I don't know if a fat dose of adrenaline will jumpstart him or not, but I'm going to try." She loads the syringe, raises it, and stabs it straight into Ross's chest. Ross jolts awake, gasping, and the first thing out of his mouth is, "I'll kill whoever stabbed me." Bowden leans in fast. "It's me, General. Take a breath. Orient yourself." Even at death's door, Ross is ready to throw hands. Deathlock turns in his seat. "You okay, boss?" Ross sits up, eyes blazing with renewed purpose. "Change your heading. We're going straight to the Pentagon." Deathlock raises an eyebrow. "We're traveling to hell and back with you, of course, but that sure seems like a good way to get shot out of the sky." Ross doesn't flinch. "Radio an emergency call to the DOD. Tell them Thunderbolt Ross wants to sit down with the Secretary of State. The man just came back from the dead and he's already making power moves. Respect." The helicopter cuts through the clouds towards Washington, D.C. They're entering the airspace when suddenly, boom, an explosion rocks the sky. Ross leans forward. "The hell was that?" Machine Man scans the radar. There's nothing showing. Ross throws open the door and steps out into the wind. "Then let's get a better view. Our plan just got complicated by a Hulkbuster." On a nearby Hulkbuster aircraft, Riker's barking orders to his crew. "Blow them out of the sky." But Ross doesn't wait. He leaps from the helicopter, and mid-air, his body starts shifting. Muscles expand, skin turns crimson, Red Hulk roars to life as he plummets towards the ground. Never again will I be taken out by a Hulkbuster, he growls. As he's falling, Ross has this moment of reflection. He's thinking about Wildstrike, Machine Man, and Deathlock, how they risked everything for him. But then he says something that encapsulates his entire character. Wildstrike, Machine Man, Deathlock, they risked everything for me. But I'm only as important as my mission, to save this beautiful broken country from Doom and his acolytes. Even in the middle of a free-fall, even after being tortured and nearly killed, Ross is thinking about the mission, about protecting his country. That's who he is at his core. Ross lands with a seismic crash that probably registered on every seismograph in the area. He sprints towards the Washington Monument. With a guttural roar, Red Hulk wraps his arm around the base of the monument and begins to lift. Stone cracks, dust billows into the air. He raises the entire monument high above his head and points its tip toward Riker's aircraft like the world's most American javelin. The visual alone is insane. Red Hulk, standing in the heart of DC, holding one of the most iconic symbols of American history, about to use it as a weapon against a traitor working with a foreign dictator. The symbolism is the chef's kiss. Now let's talk about what this story really means in the larger context. First off, we got confirmation that Doom's been playing 4D chess this whole time. He knew well before becoming Sorcerer Supreme that he needed to get Thunderbolt Ross out of the way. So he set up this whole shadow operation using Riker, conducting experiments to understand the Red Hulk transformation. Probably to find weaknesses or ways to replicate it. By capturing Ross and putting him through these experiments, Doom accomplishes multiple goals. He neutralizes one of the United States' most dangerous defenders, he gathers intelligence on gamma radiation transformations, and he tests out war scenarios using Ross's tactical mind. The man's running a whole think tank inside a black site facility. Second, this story shows us a different side of Ross. We're used to seeing him as this unstoppable force, the Red Hulk who punches his way through problems. But here, we see the toll that being weaponized has taken on him. The experiments have strained his body to the breaking point. His heart's giving out. He can't just Hulk out whenever he wants anymore without risking death. That vulnerability makes him more compelling as a character. He's not just a muscle-bound rage monster. He's a soldier dealing with the consequences of being turned into a weapon, struggling with mortality, but still committed to the mission above everything else. Third, and this is kind of subtle but important, we're seeing Ross build a new team. Wildstrike risked everything to save him. Machine Man and Deathlock proved their ride or die. These ain't just allies of convenience. These are people who genuinely care about each other and will literally carry each other through hell. That theme of found family, of soldiers looking out for their own, that's the emotional core that elevates this from just another action story to something with real weight. Look, I gotta say, this story is legit one of the best Red Hulk narratives we've gotten in a while. It's got action, it's got conspiracy, it's got character development, and it's setting up some major pieces for what's coming with One World Under Doom. The fact that Doom's been orchestrating this from the shadows, that he's already neutralized one of his biggest threats before his big power play, that's terrifying. It shows you why Doom's always been one of the Marvel's most dangerous villains. He doesn't just show up and fight. He manipulates, he plans, he turns your own institutions against you. And Ross, man's gonna be out for blood when he fully recovers from this. Doom just made this personal in a way that's gonna come back to haunt him. So yeah, we'll be picking up more on this story in the next video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell because issue number 9 is going to be even wilder. Thank you for watching. Peace.